You are such a fan favorite. If we could ever get a heel Breaux Keller, what do you think that would even look like? Is that even possible at this point or
I mean, I don't.
what's going on everybody? We are back with another super special guest. Today's guest is a professional wrestler. He's a former champion for PPW and Three Legacies Wrestling. He is from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He is the Jockzilla. He is all energy. Ladies and gentlemen, Breaux Keller. Bro, thanks so much for joining me today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I feel like this is long overdue.
Yeah, yeah, we've been wanting to have you on for quite some time now, but glad you made it tonight. But yeah, let's just get right into it. A couple weekends ago, I think it was the 9th, you have that VCW event down in Virginia. If you could just first explain, what that Dirty Money Cup is, and then your match itself that night.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad you brought that up because basically the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, for those that aren't aware, that's really where I cut my teeth in professional wrestling. Like that was where I really started to break out. And not saying that I am really somebody nowadays, but that was where I really started to create a little bit of buzz and get the name rolling a little bit. But in the time that I spent down there was, I mean, he's essentially a legend. And his name was Dirty Money. And I wrestled him a couple times at this point. But unfortunately, the last VCW show that I was on, he went for a maneuver and I think he was doing some sort of dive out of the ring. But he tore both of his hamstrings or quadriceps. I forget. Something similar like what Vince McMahon did,
Mhm.
which was very unfortunate. But I think in some capacity, he had a little bit of a chuckle about it just because the body wasn't quite where the mind was in that,
Mhm.
in that moment.
Yeah.
But yes, far too soon, Dirty Money had passed away not too long thereafter that incident. I forget, honestly, and it's on me. I feel bad for not even knowing necessarily how, but he did pass away, unfortunately. And that was essentially us paying tribute to him because he does play and has played such a big part in the DMV and just independent wrestling in general. He has
Mhm.
been a staple for the past decade, 2 decades at this point. And he's well respected. He has been known in VCW, MCW in Maryland, for those that maybe aren't as familiar with his work, but he was an incredible human. He was an awesome wrestler, and he was definitely missed. So the Dirty Money Cup was us paying tribute to him, and it's just a way to keep his name living.
Mm. Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great way to honor him. And then the match itself. I know you had it with Chris Slade, and I forget the other two guys that were in there.
Yeah, so it was actually the way it worked. It was a cool setup where there were two tag team matches. So as you alluded to, myself and Chris Slade, we were paired up together, so we were partners. And then we wrestled Papadon and Joseph Keys in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So that was quite an interesting matchup. We were in there for a while, just getting after each other. And I will say, Slade and myself, we've got some good chemistry.
Mm,
It worked out pretty well being partners, for at least for that match.
mm,
And then in the other match, there was, oh my goodness, I don't even remember who all four competitors were. But then the winners of each match, they advanced to a fatal four way. So
mm,
then we ended up seeing Brandon Scott in the finals, which again, another DMV Northeast kind of legend.
mm.
Um, and then yeah, and then Jonathan Elliott, we saw him in the finals too. So it was a four way. And Scott and Elliott, they got a little bit of a pass, so they were really getting after each other, which lended itself to me and Slade going for it a little bit, just trying to
Mm.
beat each other out. Partners, then instantly enemies, but we'll say we're frenemies at this point.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know Chris Slade. I'm familiar with him from PPW and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds like a great matchup. Kind of crazy rule set, but it sounds like pretty fun. But I want to just go back a little bit. I think it was last year. It wasn't the very first time I would have seen you in person, but one of them. It was your first match with Miles Hawkins. I know you had a pair of
Oh.
them. Those were insane. Both those matches back to back months. You had that spot where you guys replicate the Ricochet and Logan Paul
You
off the
got it.
ropes. Seeing that in person was so crazy. Just take us through that. Who's that? Whose idea was that? If you could just talk about that series, the pair of matches too.
Yeah, Miles Hawkins is a tremendous athlete. So I definitely need to say that first and foremost because you know the old expression where it's like wrestling this person's like a day off. Well, as much as I would like to say that, it's actually quite the opposite because he's going to push you. As smooth and as efficient as he is in the ring, it's it's a match when you're in there with him where it's like you both want to bring the best out of each other,
Yeah.
and it's not a day off because you're trying to pull out all the stops. As you mentioned, we went for that Ricochet Logan Paul spot,
Yes.
and let me tell you, it was a lot more than I was thinking it was going to be. I was a little naive when we were discussing it. I was like, yeah, let's do it. It'll be great. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But once you're like mid-flight and you're looking at each other from across the ring, whew, you see your life flash before your eyes. It's quite a moment. And then obviously impact, boom.
Yeah.
Holy goodness. Yeah, you feel every bit of that impact. So yeah, we were talking things through, not to peel back the curtain too much, but they had a conversation, I guess, in his car ride up to the
Mm.
show. And that idea was floated around. It was like, well, not to toot my own horn, it's like we got two athletes in there, so let's get after it and let's see what we can pull off. So that was definitely a fun moment, especially given the circumstances. Us going to like a time limit draw, that being the
Hmm.
final move,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's certainly something I won't forget because he is just such a blast to work with. Yeah, we've worked in PPW, we worked in MCW, we were tag team partners for a cup of coffee in AEW. Um, yeah, so we've actually done quite a bit together now that I reflect back on it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That spot was insane. It was like a just a human car crash just colliding. There's
That's
really no way to prepare
that's
for
a
that, I
good way
guess.
to put it.
Yeah, it's just whatever hits hits.
Pretty much. And honestly, I will say I'm proud of us because it was clean. Like we
Yeah.
both connected right where we should have. And yeah, I won't lie. I was feeling it the next day. That is a fact. But got to do it for the internet, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then just I know you have a vast, deep history with PPW. That was like the first indie promotion I got into in the
Yes.
area. Just what does that promotion just mean to you?
PPW means a lot to me because they gave me opportunities when not many other people were. And I'm forever grateful for that. Anthony and Paul, those guys run a great promotion. Even Alpha Jr. for a while, he was really helping run the show there. I don't know if he was booking or not, but he was just such a locker room presence, such a locker room leader. And I owe a lot to those guys. I mean, I've gotten plenty of opportunities while working with them. I was their champion for, I think it was about a year that I
Mhm.
held their title, and they entrusted me with that, which that's an honor. I mean, I just saw a post the other day that somebody put up about championship titles, and not to go on a tangent here, but they're more than just a prop. I agree. Where this was basically his argument, where they're more than just a prop, and it's definitely a statement where a company or a promotion they're putting their faith in you and they're looking at you as somebody that they can rely on and depend on. So all that to say, PPW did that with me. They gave me some awesome opponents. I've wrestled Action Andretti there. I've wrestled Brian Johnson, the Mecca there.
Yep.
Um,
Moose.
the what's that? Moose,
Moose.
the
Yep.
Machine, Brian Cage. I mean, I was supposed to wrestle. Oh goodness, why am I blanking on his name? My brain is not here today. It's been a week, let me tell you.
That's okay.
Um, but all that to say, yeah, they've given me a ton of opportunities. They trust me with their title, and yeah, I'm forever grateful for them. And I gotta reach out to them and see, what shows they have coming up, and if they've got some room
Hmm.
for Breaux Keller to hop on there.
Yeah, I'm sure they can make some space for you if they don't already. But and then around that same time, I think it was like last year, summer, and then like towards the end of summer, bubbling up there in Lancaster, you have three
Mhm.
legs as well. That same time, Ricardo's looking to crown his first ever heavyweight champion. You have that tournament going on. Take us through kind of like the build up and then the very first Red Rose Rumble, what that event was like for Lancaster and then for Three Legacies and yourself too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as much as I was just putting over PPW, this is no knock to them or anybody else, but Three Legacies Wrestling holds the dearest spot in my heart because this is our community. This is Lancaster. This is a tremendous story that, Ricardo Rodriguez, Jesus, his past and what led him to Lancaster is so fascinating. It's so incredible. It's such perseverance, and it's fantastic to just like watch him, learn from him, talk to him, and really pick everything up that he can relay from his past experiences.
Yeah.
But
Not to cut you off, but his interview with Chris Van Vliet just dropped, so everybody go check
yeah,
out that. Ricardo's story is he gets into it a little bit. It's incredible, but sorry, continue.
no, that's a great point. I'm glad you said that because I was going to mention it too, where they really they highlighted a lot of his history and what led him to where he is now. And it's a fascinating story. But yeah, Three Legacies. I mean, Lancaster for the longest time has been just itching for wrestling. And
Hmm.
there were promotions in the past. They were before I even started wrestling, but apparently they did halfway decent and were pretty cool. But there was a big lull for a while, especially from COVID until 2 years ago.
Yep.
But for him to come in and make the instant impact that he did, and not just him, and he'll be the first to say it, it's a team effort. I mean, the students that are there, the community that we've built, it's incredible to see. And I can't give him enough credit. He doesn't give himself enough credit for as much work as he puts into it. But him, Ronnie, Chris Dreisbach, all those guys, they are really on the forefront of something special. And it's just been incredible to watch just how much we've grown. And to the original question leading up to the Red Rose Rumble, there was a buzz about that whole show,
Yeah.
um, which was really cool to see. And it was months prior to it.
Hmm.
And just going through, there was a qualifying tournament month after month, advance or win in advance. And finally, yeah, it got down to me and Tarzan Duran. And we got after it in
Mm.
that stadium show. That's basically the culmination of a year's worth of work. So, wrestling in Clipper Magazine Stadium, representing Lancaster, being in front of the community, friends, family, you name it. It is, I mean, heck, I got the picture printed out, like holding the title and
Hmm.
winning it that first night. It was magical. It went a little late. I'll say that. Went a little late.
Yeah.
However, it was awesome being there and being a part in that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It was a special moment for sure. And then, you know, after that kind of starts your what I would call like a chaotic sort of title reign that you had like late last year, early this year. Who'd you say is the biggest nemesis for you? Is it JS Hawthorne or is it that just super annoying, insufferable Lancaster County commission lady? Which one's your bigger nemesis?
Yeah, which one takes the cake on this?
I
I
mean,
gotta
literally, she
say,
took the cake.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
literally.
That's a good point. That's a
Yeah.
good point. Yeah, Bryn Remsburg, the assistant to the commissioner, whatever her title is. She
Whatever.
is a thorn in my side, to say the least. She just keeps popping up every time I don't want her to pop up.
Yep.
But just with some of the battles we've had, I think Hawthorne at this point is a bigger nemesis
Mm,
because we've had some wars. He's tried to pull out all the dirty tricks. He's tried to pull out all the stops,
hmm.
and to some point, he is availed and he retained his title. But I mean, come on, if you got to cheat to win, let's be honest. You know you're beat if that's the case.
Right.
So one of these days, hopefully, I can avenge myself and get that title back. But until then, as you alluded to, I got to keep an eye on this assistant to the commissioner because she just is everywhere at all times, being a Karen that nobody ever wants to have around.
Yeah. Yeah, she's become pretty annoying, if I say so myself. But
Yes.
yeah, and then yeah, the feuds with the matches with JS Hawthorne have been awesome. how do you, plan to get back to that title picture there? I know you have your match coming up tomorrow, actually. Darian Hardway, I know he's a hungry competitor. How do you see that match going and just climbing back to that title spot?
Yeah, honestly, this is a little, I guess, unknown for most people. I mean, I don't know if this is breaking news here, but um, I actually tore my meniscus a couple months ago, and
Mm,
so tore the meniscus in my right knee, and then also I partially tore my hamstring as well. So a
geez,
lot of yeah, it hurt. It
that's
hurt.
yeah.
So that wasn't the most enjoyable, and it's definitely been a good moment to like sit back, reflect, and really look at what this is going forward and what my path is and how I can get back into that main event, that title picture. Because let's be honest, that's why we do this. We
Mm,
want to be in that main event. We want to be fighting for championships,
sure.
and so I think for me, at least at this point, I just have to start at the bottom and prove myself again
Mm,
because let's call it like it is. I still have yet to be pinned. I still have yet to be submitted in Three Legacies Wrestling.
mm,
So the resume is there. However, I will admit the last title defense, or I should say the last title match that I was a part of, commissioner wasn't there, referee was down. I took
mm.
advantage of the opportunity that was in front of me, and I tried to hit the bro job, successfully done. However, I got my 1, 2, 3, didn't count. Of
Mm,
course, there was a monitor in the back. So the commissioner, assistant two, comes out, disqualifies me. That's on me. I'll take that one.
mm,
I've learned from it. And now, like I said, coming back, getting through this suspension that she added onto my resume here,
mm.
it's just been a lot of reflection, a lot of physical therapy.
Yeah.
And I think Darian Hardway, it's going to be a battle. I mean, like you said, fierce competitor. I haven't seen too much of him outside of he's got the coldest picture from this year's
Yeah.
Red Rose Rumble with the
Mm,
rain falling. I'll give
yeah.
him a lot of credit. That's pretty badass. But
Yeah.
but outside of that, I know he's strong. I've seen him. He's an athlete. I've seen him. And yeah, I just gotta take it one step at a time, get through him, see who's next. I mean, we've got an incredible roster at Three Legacies. So if I have to go through every single person, I'll go through every single person.
Yeah.
That's not a qualm of mine. So one step at a time. That's all we can do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that picture of Darian at the Red Rose Rumble from this past year was that is sick. I thought personally he should have won the Rumble, but that's just my humble opinion. But with your injury, yeah, I was wondering if there was something going on. We didn't see you too much, but you mentioned a little bit the physical recovery. How's like the mental during that time? I know that can be just as difficult for some people.
It can be, yeah. You alluded to it where, I mean, even now to an extent, I haven't been as heavy on social media. I haven't been necessarily calling people out or, throwing names around, throwing posts out there. It's been a lot of self reflection. It's
Mm,
been a lot of seeing where I'm at in life, seeing where my body's at, trying to make sure I'm getting back into the best physical condition that I can be in. Because I certainly, A, don't want this injury to happen again.
yeah.
But B, I also want to make sure coming back that I'm just as strong, if not stronger. I'm just as fast, if not faster. And I have the same endurance that I had because that all plays such a huge factor into getting back into the picture that we were just talking about. So the
Yep.
mental load has been challenging, if I'm being honest with you. It's been a lot to, trying to wrap my head around. But I will say, having this time of reflection, having this time to really examine where I'm at with everything, it's been very helpful.
Mm,
And it's brought clarity to an extent as well. It's brought me some peace. I can forgive Hawthorne to an extent for what
mm,
he's done because we're all competitors. I get it. We all want to win. But that being said, I'm not taking it easy on anybody.
mm, yeah.
The hunger is still there. Being away is almost like grown my appetite. So
Yeah.
So not being in the ring, not being in front of the fans, not being in front of the crowd, it's something that you crave, and that's something I'm very excited to get back to.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You are all energies. I can't imagine you just sitting there stirring, trying not to, you can't do too much, but you want to see what you can do. Some fun side questions. Do you have a Mount Rushmore at all? No, kind of stereotypical question.
Yeah, no, that is a good question. I will say, talk about a sidebar quick. Not a Mount Rushmore, at least not yet,
Mm.
but at that VCW show, Nick Nemeth, aka Dolph Ziggler,
Oh,
he was
I
there.
forget. Yeah.
Dude, let me tell you, he
Yeah.
was my guy for all of like the 2010s.
Mm.
His cash in, I will debate this with anybody. It was better than Seth Rollins. It was better than any other cash ins in the history of cash ins.
Yep.
His was the best. The reaction was the best, and he freaking deserved it. So
Ricardo was there for that too.
he certainly was with Del
Crazy. It all
Rio.
ties. Yep.
Yeah. So being there with him was an honor for one.
Hmm.
Um, it was a privilege for two. I mean, he was such a dude's dude, which I appreciated times 10. They're
Hmm.
always like, don't meet your heroes. Well, I met him, and he was a guy that I watched and looked up to for a while,
Yeah.
and he was kick ass. So it
Yeah.
was fantastic being there with him and getting to shoot the breeze and taking a picture. Got
Hmm.
the pic.
Yeah.
But back to your original question, Mount Rushmore. I grew up in the Attitude Era, so Rock and Austin, it's tough for me to leave either of them out.
Yeah.
And the fact that The Rock has brought in so many eyeballs from across the world in his other ventures,
Hmm.
plus in that moment, Steve Austin being as massively huge as he was, those are just two right off the bat.
Yep.
Um, it's tough to debate Hogan because he is what made WWE what it is now, taking it first of all nationwide, but then globally.
Hmm.
Um, and then, I mean, it's a toss up. Flair, I think, is the easy answer.
Hmm.
Um, he's definitely, again, he's what made wrestling what it was for so long. I mean, he
Yeah.
did it for decades, and he was quite literally the man.
Mm.
So Flair's the easy answer there, but I mean, you could throw in any slew of names: Taker, Andre. I mean, especially when you talk to old heads nowadays, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I used to watch WWF back in the day.
Hmm.
Undertaker, Bret Hart." And it's
Yep.
just like, ah. But yeah, I think Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. It's tough to leave him out, especially when you're talking about in-ring performers. So
Mhm.
I know I just gave you five, but maybe we'll let it slide.
Yeah, that's okay. It's so hard to get. I think everybody's Mount Rushmore is like actually 10, like their top 10.
It
But
has to be. There's just been so
yeah,
many. I mean, even now, Cena, like, how can you leave him off for what he's done?
yeah. It's hard to like
So,
as time goes on, it's hard to know. Like some people put Roman in already. It's hard to know how far back to go. You can do. You know what I mean?
right.
It's tough.
Who knows Bruno San Martino? It's
Yeah.
so tricky.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Nick Nemeth might be on this one for you, but any dream matches, whether it's,
Yep.
indies or the bigger scene?
Yeah, he's definitely on there. I mean, there was a moment too when the booker reached out to me and was like, "Hey, you ready to do this?" And then he sent me a picture of the poster with him. And I was like, "Wait, are you asking me what I think you're asking me?"
Uh,
He
yeah.
wasn't. Newsflash, but
Oh, dang.
but still, he would be easily my number one like dream opponent. Um, Coming up, a really strong number two would be Adam Cole. I
Mm,
think that would be somebody. I mean, you talk about Lancaster; he's a Lancaster guy,
I was just gonna
and
say Lancaster legend right there.
exactly. So he comes to mind immediately. I've had the pleasure of hanging out with him on quite a few occasions, and he's someone where it's just like he's done this for a while now too at this point.
Yep.
And being in the ring with him, with everything he's accomplished, everything he's continuing to do now with AEW, I mean, that would be a dream come true. Getting in there with him. Finn Balor is another guy. I just I look at him and I'm like, dude, that's the guy.
I love Finn.
He's the
Yep.
guy.
Love.
So yeah, those are three quick ones right off the top of the head that instantly come to mind.
Yeah. Yeah, those are great. Those are I feel like Nick Nemeth and Who's your second one again? Sorry.
Adam Cole, baby.
Yeah, yeah, they're pretty kind of similar. But yeah, those are all three of those answers are amazing. And then you're such a fan favorite. If we could ever get a heel Bro Keller, what do you think that would even look like? Is that even possible at this point or
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Somebody just has to, I guess, flick some sort of switch inside of me.
I'm sure it's there somewhere.
It's there somewhere. I mean, let's be honest. We all have a little bit of a demon inside of us. So,
Mm,
what that looks like, I'm not totally certain. I mean, there have been moments, again, peeling back the curtain a little bit, where Heel Bro has made an appearance down
ooh,
in Maryland, in Jersey,
mm,
um, up in New York a couple times, but few and
okay.
far between. Few
Mm,
and far between. However, there's a little bit more arrogance that comes with Heel Bro. There's a little bit more pompous, if you will.
mm,
And yeah, I just something it clicked inside of me with those promotions in front of those fans that
mm,
I don't know. I think it brought out the worst. Some would argue the best in me. Um, so
mm.
yeah, and three legacies. That's a great question. It's a
Yeah.
great question. Time will tell.
Yeah, yeah, that would be I don't know what that looked like either, but who knows? People put that out there about Cody too, like the Homelander thing and what that would
Homelander,
for him.
yeah.
Yeah, we've seen that a little bit. Yeah, you have the match coming up against Darian Hardway. What's it called? November Mayhem there with Three Legacies. Any other events or anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Three Legacies is first and foremost for me right now. That is the priority, and that is where I'm basically dedicating most of my time. A lot of that is just because of my baby. I have an 11, almost about to be a year old, which
Oh,
blows my mind how he's already a year almost.
mm,
But that has been a big focus for me. I've really been trying to make sure that I'm giving him my time, my attention. I want to be a present father, not to get all sappy
no,
and
it's hard. It's hard to
overly
balance
cushy.
time. It's hard.
It is. It totally is. So being away, on the road, as they say, it's a lot for me being away from him because
Yeah,
I love the guy. But
especially
then also,
that age. I mean, it's
yeah,
it's so fresh.
it is. You get it.
Yeah.
But then also, I understand, the kind of stress and the rigors that puts on my wife too, being at home with him, and basically just carrying the work of two people while I'm away.
Yeah.
So that's definitely been it. However, that being said, we already alluded to VCW. We mentioned PPW. Hopefully,
Yeah.
there's, I think, more opportunities there. Three legacies. And then who knows? I mean, trying to get my foot in the door and talk to some other bigger promotions as well. I mean, you have this WWE ID now, which is a thing.
Yeah, we could do a whole episode on that. That's crazy. All that.
It
That's
is. I still don't understand what it is, though, if I'm being very honest with you.
I
It's
know.
just
It
cool
just
you get a
feels
shout
like
out, but
what it feels like for me, it's funny, like I don't think I've said this out loud, but it feels like the game, like the story mode game, and just anybody can kind of pop up and like it just seems like a mystery. Like they're putting these people in story mode and it's like now we don't know what's gonna happen next. It's just seems like kind of chaotic at this point, but it's super exciting.
it is, yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, there's always that bigger goal in mind where we want to be on the national platform, on a global stage, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But also it requires the work on the independent level, getting in front of the right eyes, being in
Mm,
front of the right people at the right time. I mean, there's so many different variables at play. So those promotions for now, at least, are my priority, just given my life circumstances with the little guy and getting my knee back into the shape that it needs to be in.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean that doesn't mean that I'm no less excited to be a part of Three Legacies, doing everything that I can to help that brand grow. And yeah, PPW, they've been tremendous to me. So working with them in the future, I think would be something that would definitely jazz me up.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then just my last question before I get you out of here, since you're so closely connected with Three Legacies and the students and
Mhm.
you help them train sometimes, what advice would you give some of those new students?
The advice would be to lean into it. I think
Mm,
I think it's so easy to, take a couple bumps, run the ropes a couple times, and people don't realize um, the level of effort that goes into this. And people think, oh, you guys are just in there play fighting, or you girls are just in there messing around. And it's like, sure, we can joke about us being in there play fighting with our friends, but this is very real. This is very physical. This is very demanding. And I'm not just talking about the body, I'm talking about the mind too, where,
Mm,
I think a lot of students is they walk in, they do a class, and they're like, oh, this is way more than I realized it was going to be.
mm,
And then they walk away, or they realize what it is and they don't take it seriously. I mean, I do have expectations that we're going to take this seriously and we're going to work, but there have been times where
mm,
people don't take it seriously, or it's easier to joke around if you mess up. We're
mm.
all expected to mess up in some capacity. Like
Right.
nobody's perfect. You're going to have some, error or slip
Mm,
in memory, for example, if you're running a certain spot. Don't stop. Don't just be
mm.
like, oh shoot, I messed this up. Woe is me.
Yeah, keep
Keep
going.
going.
Yeah.
Yes, keep going. For
Mm,
so many reasons. First and foremost, being the safety of you and your opponent. Um, so with that, yeah, there is a lot at stake in a professional wrestling match. And when new students come in, again, it's not cosplaying. We're not just dressing up and rolling around in a
yeah.
crash pad or a trampoline. I hear a lot of people talking about. No, that is wood with a thin layer of padding on
Mhm.
top of steel bars.
Yep.
It hurts. So you have to take it seriously. You have to lean in. Otherwise, you're just going to essentially shoot yourself in the foot, and you're, you're going to lose interest. You're not going to be, at your best, and
Mhm.
you're not necessarily going to take it seriously. So I think all of that is really important, especially when looking at new students and having them realize the importance of the time, of the safety, of the physicality, and what it does to your mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. That was perfect. Recover, rest, take care of the little one, do all that. But yeah, I can't. I'm sure they're, can't wait to have you back in there also helping out. I'm sure people know where to find you already, but if you just want to plug your socials before we let you go.
Absolutely. I make it nice and easy for everybody. It's the same across the board: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's at Breaux Keller. That's it.
Yep.
Breaux. All right. That's the tricky
Perfect.
part.
Yeah, it's not Brex, it's Bro.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. The amount
Does
of
that drive you
Brexes or
nuts?
Broxes I've gotten.
I can't imagine. All right, man. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Can't wait to watch your journey and see where everything goes for you.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. I'm sorry again for us being long overdue, but we made it happen.
Yep. Absolutely. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.